Hi guys, and welcome back to another scratch build video. So I've still got lots and lots of pieces of plastic junk to obviously turn into things. But one thing I kind of like the look of that I've got in this sort of big pile are these little Actimel pots. Mainly because I want to have a go at making some sort of epoxy resin thing. And I think these would be great to obviously fill up with epoxy resin. So I'm going to use these Tyranids, and I'm basically going to make some sort of like cryo chamber, I think. Just because, yeah, because I can obviously suspend these in these little pots, fill them up with epoxy resin, and then obviously cut them out, which would be ideal. I'm using some fishing wire to suspend them, and that way you won't obviously see the wire when it's still sort of in there. And yeah, just a case of gluing this to obviously the back of the Tyranids, and then gluing it to the metal wire. That'll help suspend them, obviously, and then just a case of mixing up the epoxy resin. So there you go, yeah, fitting nice and well. So I'm going to do 3 of these, just because I think they look pretty cool. So I'm using a different epoxy resin from one I've used before. No real reason, I just like trying different ones out. Generally I go for whatever's the cheapest. And yeah, give them a go, see how they work out. So usual sort of thing, get the scales out. And this time I'm actually going to wear gloves for a change, guys. Just for those health and safety people out there. Yeah, use gloves because this stuff isn't good for your skin. So using the scales, obviously the one I've got, again I always try and go for ones that are a mixed ratio of 1:1, just because that makes things a whole lot easier and there's no maths involved. So mixing them together, and then obviously once they're in, give them a good old stir. Again, yeah, the problem with obviously with its clear ones is you can never tell when it's quite mixed, so you're best over mixing just to make sure it's all in together. And if you see one of my recent videos, obviously when I did have a go at doing this with a zombie in a jar, I put too much colouring in. So this time I'm making sure just to add a little bit at a time, just because, yeah, I don't want to make the mistake where you put too much colour in and then basically you can't see what's inside, well, what's inside the clear resin, because obviously it's no longer clear. So yeah, mix a little bit of green in just to give it that eerie sort of scary kind of look, and then again giving that a good old stir in, and yeah, pour from a nice height, get a thin stream, and slowly but surely fill these up. Generally when I'm doing this kind of thing, I generally tap whatever the item is to release air bubbles. But because this is kind of like a cryo sort of thingy, if there aren't any air bubbles, then yeah, it won't look too bad. Although this clear stuff does seem to dry really well, or cure really well. So while that's happening, I can just sort of, well, wait really, because I want to get that done before I do anything else. So, about 12 hours later, it's all fully cured and obviously gone nice and hard. And yeah, now I can just sort of peel these things out. So that's the reason why I like the idea of using these little Actimel bottles, just because I like the shape of them and the fact that, yeah, it makes it so much easier rather than having to build some sort of surround out of plastic. Using these little bottles, fill them up and then just sort of peel it like, well, a banana I guess. And yeah, there's a bit of a sort of a shape to them, or a ridge on them, which is obviously on the inside of the bottles. But on the whole, I'm really pleased with how these have come out. They're definitely suspended, they're off the bottom, which is cool. So now to make sort of the rest of the, like the cryo chamber and sort of odds and ends, it is just a case really of getting all the bits and pieces I've got, cutting loads of bits and pieces up. Obviously using the Dremel tool is kind of ideal for this. And so I've got lots of bits of plastic left over from the printer that I took apart the other week, so go and check that video out. So yeah, cut all the bits and pieces up I need, and then obviously, well, start gluing them all together once I've got all the bits and pieces. Whilst I'm doing that, I just want to say a big shout out and thank you to all my patrons for helping support the channel. As usual, it really does mean so much, because obviously it means I can buy more and more stuff, especially as I want to start doing more epoxy resin builds, makes, dioramas, and obviously that stuff isn't cheap. So yeah, thanks a lot for you guys, because you guys are helping me to produce these kind of videos and make more content for you guys to obviously watch. So cheers guys. There's a link at the end of the video, as well as in the description, on how you can become a patron, and obviously they do get exclusive behind the scenes pictures or work in progress pictures of what I'm currently working on. So after many attempts to see how all this junk could work as cryo chambers, I gave up and thought, no, why mess about doing that when I've got a lovely 3D printer and I can 3D print some stuff off. So that's exactly what I did, guys. So apologies if anyone thought this was going to be made out of junk. Unfortunately not. Now the bits and pieces I've got for junk are great for some terrain, great for vehicles, but the idea I had in my head of the cryo chamber, yeah, it just wasn't working. So I thought for a change, I'd have a go at making something that's pretty much entirely 3D printed, and that's exactly what I've done. So yeah, lots of little bits and pieces. Again, lots of things I get from Thingiverse, just because they do obviously little bits of pipe, tubing, and all kinds of other gubbins. What I will be doing in the future, guys, because I think I'm going to make a few more builds with 3D printed parts, I will start now linking where I've got the parts from. Some of these are adapted and changed a little bit, but obviously that's a great thing about the 3D printed parts you get from Thingiverse. You can then adapt them, change them, add to them, take away from them, and basically do what you want with them, which is ideal, because then you can make exactly what it is you want. And I say this is much more the idea I had in mind for this cryo chamber, and as you can see I am going to have some lights involved in this, but I'm going to have them obviously coming from underneath, so I just need to sort of drill some holes, or cut some holes even, with a good old Dremel tool, just to allow me to sort of slot up the wires from the underneath, and that the main sort of box with the battery in can go inside that main unit. I've also sort of drilled out, again channeled out some lines for the wires, just so this can all be underneath and it will all lay flat. So yeah, so I'm really happy with how this is looking. This is definitely how this cryo chamber was in my mind before I kind of started. So I've primed it all in black, and now I'm just going to go over the whole thing, doing a bit of dry brushing with some silver, as I just love the effect of this. Rather than painting the thing like a solid silver, doing the highlights obviously keeps it nice and dark and mysterious looking, but obviously the edges, well, and highlights obviously capture the silver nicely. So yeah, nice and simple to do this again, and I'm going to do this obviously all over the parts. Yeah, and once it's done it'll look pretty cool, and then I can glue in the actual resin chambers, switch the lights on, and yeah, looking good. As I've not really done much in the way of using sort of epoxy resin, if you guys got any ideas of what I should make with it, by all means, yeah, let me know in the comments, guys, what you'd like to see. Obviously I've been watching a few other videos of people doing things with epoxy resin, and well, for some reason sharks in tanks seems to be quite a popular one, or even zombie sharks or zombie frogs. Yeah, there's quite a few variety of things out there, but yeah, I mean obviously anything to do with Warhammer, I'll have a go at doing, or any sort of D&D sort of things. Yeah, basically anything where I can have a go at playing with epoxy resin, whether it's just as it is, or colouring it, or sticking things inside it. Yeah, let's get some epoxy resin videos coming along. So yeah, this is pretty much done now. Now to see it looking in all its glory. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Don't forget to leave some comments down below. Let me know what you thought of this build, and I say what you might want to see me sort of make in the future. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell, as I do produce a new video every week. Okay, cheers guys, thanks a lot for watching. Bye for now.